All right, so this video is just right off the top of my head. I didn't really set up the camera or nothing. So it's going to be it's going to be one of them little clip videos, however they look. But this is my opinion. This is my view. This is my interpretation of how I see things and how I see things going. I can't read the future. I am not a palm reader. I don't know things that are going to happen. This is just a guess. This is what I think is going to happen in the future sometime or very soon. We have already went through the age of cinema, so to speak. We have made scary movies. We have made horror movies. We have made romantic movies. We made drama, Christmas, holiday movies, action movies, biographical movies, war movies, all kinds of movies that you can think of. Everything you can think of. Even though I love some movies and I still watch some clips from movies, I very seldomly watch whole movies anymore, but I will time to time. Once in a while I will. But I think we are in an age right now, 2024, where movies are just being made to be made. It's like, what new concepts can there possibly be come up with that hasn't already been come up with? You know what I mean? Like, there's already been every kind of horror movie. There's already been every kind of slasher film, action film, romantic film, biographical film, Schindler's List, Predator, Armageddon, Die Hard. It's like the list just goes on and on and on. Even fantasy stuff. It kind of it starts to be the same thing. They try desperately to make it different, but it's really not that different. It's just different colors, different actors, different people, different personalities, different costumes, different settings and time, et cetera, et cetera. But it's really not that different. And why am I saying this? Because I think personally that the times we are in are going to get weirder and weirder and weirder as we go, because we have already played this out. We have already done this. If you're someone like me you have almost watched almost every movie there is. I'm not saying I've watched every movie there is. And this goes for a lot of other stuff too. This goes for music and other things. But I believe for myself that music is something that can always be new, because there's so many different techniques. There's so many different sounds. There's so many different drums and choir sounds and orchestral bells, strings, whistles, hi-hats, cymbals, snares, crickets, water flowing, table smacking, thumb clapping, finger snipping. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do with music and sound. But the thing is, the music and sound is going to be so abundant, but there's not going to be enough visual works to go with it. There's not going to be enough visual ideas to go about doing things with, if you understand what I mean. Now, someone like Martin Scorsese, he says that he still has movies to make. He still has ideas because that's his own genius. He's someone that can go with a biographical thing that actually happened, and he can make a movie on that, and he can make it interesting. He can take a real life thing that happened and he can make a movie with it, like Killers of the Flower Moon. I never watched it, but that story has happened over and over and over in history. There has been similar things. It was just the white man and the red man, which is the Caucasian man and the Indian man, that was in conflict over land and oil and all this stuff, like it is all throughout human history. These conflicts between people. It's just a different time, a different setting, whatever. And I'm not here to knock it. I'm just saying we're in these days where there's going to be an abundance of certain things, and certain things there's not going to be an abundance of. Like right now, I haven't watched any new movies for I can't tell you how long. Like most of them are just, it's like they're trying to make the movie. Like they're trying desperately to come up with these new concepts or these new ways of getting people to say, wow, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't see that before. I didn't see that coming. And I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's going to take a brilliant mind. I mean, it's going to take someone that is just has that. Now, some people would say God-given ability, or I don't want to really say that, but I will say to someone that just automatically has that natural tendency to create and know what they want to do and have a creative mind, some kind of creative genius. And I myself personally, I know that I have creative genius with music. I know that I have that. I'm not bragging about it, but it's something that unfortunately that I'm very fortunate to have. But going about putting it to something visual, that's the hard part, because you can't just have a camera on you 24/7. I don't have anyone to film me or do whatever, and explaining this is very hard. It's very hard to even explain this to people, because I know it sounds like I'm bragging and boasting, but I feel like I am so ahead of my time. I feel like eternal. I feel like an eternal being. I feel like I am eternally ahead of all this. Like I'm looking in the past and I'm looking in the future and I'm looking at now all in one. And it's this weird, very weird, strange phenomenon going on in my life where sometimes I'm up and I'm doing better and I'm doing things, and then there's times where I'm down and I'm like, oh gosh, here I go again with this bull crap, and I'm just I'm under the weather, I'm not feeling right, and everything's going wrong, and that's life. But besides that, that's another topic. But all of these things, they kind of go hand in hand together. It's I'm very good at one thing, but another thing I'm necessarily not good at. But collaborating with other people that have a creative mind or an artistic mind, I'm not good at collaborating because I know what I want to do. And when I'm with other people that have these ideas, or I don't like ideas. I don't like ideas. I think ideas are they're too set up. It's someone trying to make something happen. If it doesn't happen naturally, it's not real to me. If it doesn't come from the essence of your nature or how you really feel and what you're really going through, it doesn't mean anything to me as a person. It just doesn't mean nothing. It's like people are trying to come up with an idea, like, let's come up with an idea for this thing. What can we do to impress the people? What can we do to make them go, oh, and it doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. And see, other creative minds, other unique, genuine minds will understand what I mean. And then them other people that do it that way, they're not going to understand this. They're going to keep trying to come up with ideas, and like these people in Hollywood, they're trying to keep rebooting these movies, and they're trying to wow us and make us think of something different. And I'm sorry to say, it's almost like it's over. It's done. It's like an ending thing that's coming about. I really think these movies that are coming out, like, oh, Oppenheimer with the atomic bomb and stuff like that, I have already watched so many documentaries and biographies on that. I don't even know if I would want to watch the movie, because I've seen it so many times. And like the Killers of the Flower Moon, that's nothing new. I've already seen so many biographies on the Indians and the white man and war and, famine and people killing each other, and the South and the North and Abraham Lincoln and just the whole historical thing that went on. I know too much about it. I've seen it so many times. And yeah, these movies, they're interesting. It's interesting, even though there's a lot of violence and there's a lot of cruelty and corruption and all these things, just everything that you can think of. It's all the polar oppositions in one, good and bad, moral and immoral. It's all that stuff, and it's fascinating. A lot of people are very fascinated with morbid things. They're fascinated with stuff they don't understand. But see, I personally, for myself, understand a lot of things because I have had things happen to me. I have seen things. I have witnessed things. I have gone through things. I still have things going on in my life now that I've experienced this stuff. So it's like I put my suffering, I put my everything that I've experienced that makes me this thing in front of this camera recording. I put all that into what I'm doing all the time. I don't need to come up with ideas. I am the idea. I am the paper in front of me. I am the pen in my hand. I am the resume. I am the blank canvas. You see, I write my story. I make my music that I've witnessed and experienced, and all those feelings and those things going off in my mind. I put that down myself. I don't have to get ideas from other people, even though when I listen to certain things, things come to my mind. When I hear certain things, or I visualize and see something or whatever, that's what sparks my creativity in my mind. But besides all of that, and if you see this in the background, this freaking kitty stuff up on the wall, that they never got rid of this. It's like so stupid. I wish I could rip it down, but it's like this used to be like a kid's room or something, but I wish I could just rip the stuff down because I don't want it to be there. But it's like today there is this oversaturation of, quote, I say quote because there's so much of it. There's so many people that are speaking about these things and talking about this stuff that, to me, it's boring. It's almost boring, even though I still listen to some people. Like spirituality and music and people trying to be musicians. And like I'm not knocking people if they're really passionate about doing that, but are they really passionate about it, or are they just doing it for attention? You see what I'm saying? Are people really passionate about it, or are they doing it for attention? Do people really want to make music? Do people really want to do the craft they're doing? Or are they just doing it to say, hey, look at me. I'm Mr. Such and Such. I'm this guy. I'm that guy. See, when people are doing it for that, to me, it's not real. It's not genuine. It's not a unique thing that people are doing. And that's just for me personally. And then when I reflect on others and I don't have that sense that they're doing it because they really want to at the time they're doing it, I sense that for myself. And I say, well, that's just not for me. And a lot of things today, unfortunately, I didn't feel this way with the music in the 90s and early thousands. It was a different feeling. Like I didn't feel like it, just felt like spontaneous. It felt like people really were into what they were doing, and that's what made it what it was. And lately it's just the music and the movies and everything in the entertainment world. I'm not really into it like that. This is why I'm always, if I do create, if I do make anything, I'm just into what I'm doing. I don't really, I'm not interested in really collaborating with too much of anything, because I am my own artist and musician and writer and stuff. You see what I'm saying? I am that, so I don't need to I don't need to do that with any other people out there. It's I'm just not interested. And today I just think there's too many people that they want to do that just to say, look at me, I'm a part of this thing that everybody else is doing. And there's no problem with that, but there comes this kind of fakeness with it. It's not genuine. It's there's just something that comes with it that I don't personally like. And I think artistry should always be something that comes from the person's experiences, or comes from their pain and suffering, or comes from something that they're doing in their life, or they did, or they're going through. That's what I think your music, your art, your writing, everything that you do should be based upon. Because when you're trying to make it something, when you're forcing yourself to come up with ideas, that's not really you doing it then. You see what I'm saying? You're trying to put on something for the audience. It's like when David Bowie said never play to the gallery, that's what he meant. And nowadays it's like people don't listen to that, because we're in this social media era where you're on these social platforms and it's kind of like it's a mob mentality. You know what I mean? It's not like an individual mentality, but yet having to do whatever you do on these things to get likes and views and all that. Because if I'm going to be honest, I'm really not into it, but I still do it though, because this is what I'm best at. This is what I know. All I know is how to make music, write. I'm a creator. I'm an artist. That's what I do. Even when I'm screwed up and I'm depressed, or I'm under the weather, or I'm not doing too great physically or mentally, it still just comes to me naturally. I don't have to force it. But I don't know. Those are just, I think that's the days that we're in. And I don't know. It's very hard to just find something that isn't so saturated, but that is interesting. That is something different or new or fresh, or something that just doesn't seem so repetitive, like everybody's doing it, or when you listen to it, it's like, oh, I heard that a million times. I heard someone already use that kick and snare in a song. I already heard that bass. I already heard that. I already seen somebody do that. Like they're copying. It's like, it's very hard to find people that are just naturally doing what they do because that's what they do. And that's just how I personally feel about it. And that's why I always have to do my own thing, because I just, whatever comes naturally comes naturally. I don't have to force it to come. And that mind state, I think you have to sit and, resonate on that. You got to sit and just allow things to come. You don't force them to come. It doesn't work like that. So that's why when I hear some of these people, I'm not going to mention names, but there's some like famous people, they go, yeah, I'm in the studio every day making things, and I'm doing something all the time and whatever. I'm like, but do you really want to do that though? Or are you just doing it to do it, to say, I have this big work ethic. I'm a hard worker. I'm in there every day. Look at me. Is it an ego thing or is it a genuine thing? You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to say screw the ego, because the ego comes with the territory. When you're making music and stuff, you are kind of delusional when you're an artist and musician, because they'll even tell you this, like you are, because actually our reality is kind of like imagination anyway. The consciousness is always, thoughts are like imagination. They're always just coming and going. So really it is kind of like an illusion, a delusion, or whatever going on, whether people want to admit that or not. But that's how I see it. It's either you either let it come and do it when it comes, or you're forcing it. And I'm someone that I'm not going to force my craft. I'm not going to force my music or writing or whatever I do. I'm not ever going to force it. But I still feel like when I feel like this, I need to talk about it even when it's not happening like that, because that's how I'm always thinking. So anyway, with that, I'm not feeling too great lately. There's some reason why I don't feel too good. I don't want to get into it, but I'll let y'all go with that. I just want to discuss that for a little bit. So if you like this, like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you want to help support the channel, please leave a tip down below or go read my writing. Any support would be appreciated. Later. Take care.